On this episode of Business World, what's next for News Corp after the Sky deal? Comcast's victory in the long battle to win control of Sky Corporation, the satellite broadcaster founded by Rupert Murdoch in the 1980s, is the latest milestone in the media tycoon's colorful career that spans 6 decades. It comes less than a year after the Australian sold the entertainment assets of 21st Century Fox, including Fox's film and television studios, to Walt Disney for $52 billion. Yet anyone thinking these deals marked the end of an era, or even the end of Mr. Murdoch, would be sorely underestimating him. His passion has always been news, more specifically newspapers, which laid the foundations for his empire and also gave it its name, News Corp. That company is still controlled by Mr. Murdoch and contains his print media interests. The 87-year-old was born into a family that owned several papers in Australia and was left an afternoon title in Adelaide called The News. After reviving an alien afternoon paper in Sydney, Mr. Murdoch did the same trick in the UK, first with the News of the World before acquiring The Sun in 1969. Against the odds, the Red Top tabloid had become the UK's biggest selling newspaper by 1980, overtaking the Daily Mirror after adopting controversial features such as putting topless models on page 3. The paper once sold close to 4 million copies a day, a number that has fallen to just over 1.4 million copies, but still has the highest daily sale according to ABC. The Daily Mail, its closest rival, sells around 1.2 million copies a day. Despite owning the Times, once known as the UK's paper of record since 1981, The Sun has always been the title that Mr. Murdoch cares about the most. While the Sky deal means the tycoon no longer owns a TV news outlet in the UK, his 2 daily papers remain a crucial part of the media landscape in a country where the broadcast news agenda is still shaped by print. As Professor Stuart Purvis, a journalism academic at City University of London, points out, Mr. Murdoch still controls the most popular and one of the most respected newspapers in Britain, The Sun and The Times. He has also retained Fox News, the high-ratings U.S. news channel, beloved by conservatives and the current occupant of the White House, as well as Sky News Australia. News Corporation dominates the newspaper market down under, owning the biggest-selling dailies in Sydney and Melbourne, as well as the sole national title, The Australian, along with the Wall Street Journal and the New York Post in the U.S. Over the years, The Sun has often boasted about its ability to make or break governments. In contrast, Professor Purvis says Mr. Murdoch's pay TV business has been very successful and wealth-creating, but did not bring much political influence. Nevertheless, ministers have tried not to upset either Sky or Mr. Murdoch, something he says is unlikely to change following the deal for the satellite broadcaster. Governments will still be wary of Murdoch's power in the media. The recent downfall of the Australian Prime Minister was partly attributed to a campaign waged by Murdoch's newspapers against his energy policy. Given the continued slide in newspaper advertising revenue, the company's UK division, commonly called News UK, is looking to diversify its revenue streams. One example is its recent purchase of the Virgin Radio brand. The company also owns Talk Radio and has been flashing its checkbook to attract high-profile presenters such as Britain's Matthew Wright. More consolidation in the media sector is likely as big media companies seek scale in a world increasingly dominated by the likes of Amazon and Google. Richard Greenfield, a media analyst, likens the trend to the opening scene in the documentary March of the Penguins. The Penguins huddle to survive winter. With Disney Fox and Comcast Sky, it's Penguins huddling, winter is still coming. Thank you for watching MDC-TV. Welcome back to Business World. Today's guest is Joy Cannizzaro. She's a radio host, and we're here to talk about Fox News and Rupert Murdoch and all this interesting stuff that's happening in this ever-changing media industry. How's your day going? How are you doing today?
Great, thank you.
Awesome,
Thank you for having
awesome.
me.
It's my pleasure, Joy, my pleasure. Joy, so Rupert Murdoch, they claim that he doesn't have much political influence, which to me that was a bit of a surprise because he controls so many worldwide newspapers, and of course the very famous Fox News, which has a lot of viewers. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on Rupert, and does he have political influence, or doesn't he? I mean, what's
right? I feel he definitely does have an influence on politics, not just here in the States, around the world. Right. Definitely when it comes to media, he's also great friends with the president. I definitely think he has some type of influence on politics.
Right. I mean, I think the only way that he wouldn't, if they would follow a very narrow definition of influence, right? The narrow definition of political influence would be the ability of the individual or his organization to have some influence in enacting policy. But even by that very narrow definition, I think he would have an enormous influence with just his media empire. That's basically what it is. It's a media empire.
Absolutely, and that media empire helps, though, influence others who are actually voting these policies into place. So whether he doesn't have that direct influence with politicians, in Washington, D.C., or, in other parts of the world, he definitely has an influence on the voters who are voting for these policies or not voting for these policies.
Absolutely, and on the other hand, I think he also has access, right? Because I mean, modern political campaigns, a lot of them, it takes place in media. I mean, traditional television, and of course the social media aspect of it. But even then, like on a channel like Fox News, it has almost twice as viewers as CNN.
Right, absolutely.
So imagine any political candidate that wants access to go on that show. I mean, in my opinion, he's gonna be very grateful to, obviously the host, but more specifically the actual owner,
absolutely,
which will be Rupert Murdoch. That's pretty interesting, right? So, where do you see the like new media going to? Like there's this whole movement of new media. It's taking place online.
We're in a digital age. We're definitely in a digital era, and media has done a complete 180 to where we're now focused on narrowcasting rather than broadcasting.
Okay.
There's just not enough content for the larger networks at this point. And that's where the struggle is with larger networks. There's not enough content for them to put out for viewers. To where now things can be done on a smaller level as far as production. Just even having a channel, to be broadcasted on, it costs less for people now, and it's more easier than going to a larger network. So there's that competition that's really taken over.
Yeah, I saw an interview with Rupert Murdoch talking about this, which is, I mean, he sold off a lot of his business, and what was happening to News Corp was that the newspapers weren't doing well.
Right.
So then they were, making up for it on the television side, and they weren't doing well, but he was still #1. Like, so that's a sad state of affairs.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're not doing, you're #1, but you're not really making a profit. So everybody else was like, and part of it is they're having a hard time understanding how to monetize. Like, how do they make money now with with what you said, a digital age.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit alarming. It's a bit scary because I don't know who benefits, right? Like,
Like,
how do you make? I don't know if that continuous disruption is a good thing for the economy. I don't think it is.
We
need to kind of figure the new state of affairs.
And that's what it is. It's keeping up with the changing of the times.
Right.
And I think that's the only way in media today that anyone can be successful.
Right.
I think the old dogs, as far as like these network owners, they're used to a different time in media to where now things have definitely changed. And again, they're not able to produce the content like they once were able to. People are not going to pay their prices. We've gone out of print media. It's
going digital. Right?
It is. Everything is. In other parts of the world, print media still is up there running, with digital media. However, it's slowly being faded away.
I mean, does print eventually have to go into broadcasting, semi-broadcasting, with visual storytelling
Absolutely.
type model? So it could, because it's it's true. I mean, oh, it's not true, but I think that yes, once you have all this like multimedia, all this, you know, content online, it's kind of boring just reading the newspaper.
Well, I was just going to ask you that. You know, who do you see
Right,
today
yeah.
in today's day and age walking around the street with a newspaper?
Yeah, no, I mean, now
20 years
it's a
ago,
mobile
yes.
device, right?
Right, you know, 20 years ago, yes,
device.
you were running to the corner store, you were running to the
Yeah, it's a
grocery
big- it's a
store
big
every
thing.
morning
It's a
to
big
get
thing.
your newspaper, and if you didn't get it
Right.
by 9, 10 o'clock, I mean, they were sold out.
Right.
You know, that was the routine.
Which is kind of, yeah.
In households, you know, it was a physical, actual paper, and a lot of people still miss that. I miss the newspaper, you know, but definitely, yeah, there's going to be times magazines, you know, are suffering the same. However, they are thinking of practical ways to keep up with this new digital age. They're starting to move more online, publishing stories, and the way that they are monetizing as well is they'll only give you, you know, like so many free stories, but the good ones you'll have to pay a subscription.
But that's good.
Yeah,
because
they still need to make money.
You're essentially creating value, right? Like
Absolutely.
it's not like, it's very hard for, you know, you to see an image and a description and say, okay, buy this whatever product, that content. It's very hard. You wanna. It's like reading a book, right? Like we'll give you the first chapter for free, but if you want to go beyond that, you got to pay.
Absolutely, yes.
And I think that's somewhat of a fair trade exchange
for the information.
Yeah, and it kind of like, I want to bring up Barnes and Nobles, kind of like Barnes and Nobles. I remember the time where you know, like if you want to look at magazines, you go to 7-Eleven and then
and then go buy it if you wanted it.
Yeah, and then the person at the counter usually will get mad at you. Hey, are you going to buy that? I used to have that experience as a kid. Right. But then, you know, Barnes and Nobles comes along with this whole new model, and it's like, no, you know what? Like, here are the books. We're not going to bother you. Go through whatever you like, and you know what? People will naturally buy.
Absolutely.
Because you know, it's a value proposition. They think it's valuable. They want the content.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think, yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite motivational speakers, Tony Robbins.
Yes.
He does that a lot. He has so much valuable free content online, and okay, I admit I've never actually bought his products.
You've wanted to.
I've never actually bought his products, but hey, I'm a supporter. You know, it's because he's adding value, and that's
absolutely
that's part of it.
And well, that's an important part of it as well. Is you know, there is a lot of free content out there, and I'm a heavy believer in supporting individuals who are out there giving us, you know, solid, truthful, beneficial content. You know, so again, and that's where also newspapers are going to have to realize, you know, we have to kind of go back to the old morals, values, and ethics of news reporting and journalism. We've gone to, you know, as far as that's what seems to also be causing an issue is, you know, each networks are kind of like this one-sided, you know, we've gone into a time where journalists are actually incorporating their opinions into their stories, where,
right.
you know, in the past that wasn't proper.
Well, look, some have said, I'm just kidding, that's the Fox News. Some have said that, okay, really what it is I think that Fox News was like instrumental in creating what you just described. We'll pick it up right after the break. Friends, thank you for watching MDC-TV. We'll be right back.
Miami-Dade College is a great college.
It changed my life. Miami-Dade is really like a family. They really embrace the students. They really have a way of making you feel wanted, making you feel loved, making you feel that you could really do what you desire to do.
I am very happy that I came to Miami-Dade College North. Wonderful faculty, wonderful advisors. I feel speechless because they're so good at what they do. I feel that students should not give up. They should become someone. They should be in a major that they love.
And Miami-Dade really, you know, has made a huge impact on my life for the better.
I feel that everyone should do that. Everyone should take that extra step and continue their education. Come here to Miami-Dade. Miami-Dade is great.
Welcome back to Business Worlds. So we picked it up with that talking point, which I think is very important in what's happening in this media landscape now, which is it's becoming very, I think I can say very difficult to distinguish journalism from commentary or political commentary. And for example, there's many great shows out there. For example, let's just say, the 11th hour, or we can say that's MSNBC.
Right, absolutely.
We can talk about the Hannity show, whether you like it or hate it. That's besides the point. The point is
there's many out there.
Right. The point is the Sean Hannity show journalism or political commentary, and how do you distinguish it? And I mean, you could take a poll out of all the viewers. How many think that they're actually watching the news? It's very
misguided.
Yeah, it's very it's very cunning.
Yeah.
I think that's the right word. Very, very cunning.
Absolutely.
So I mean, you're a media person. So what are some things that a more educated consumer or viewer can look for to discern the difference or distinguish the difference?
Absolutely.
What should we be looking for then?
Sure. Well, there's actually many people now involved in creating businesses to help you decipher what's true and what's not true.
Okay.
So you do have websites such as Snopes. Goodness, I forgot. There's another website that you can actually go to that tells you how to like pick apart different articles or different photos to give you that information, just to decipher. But there are things that even the natural eye, not just people trained in media, but there are different things that people with a natural eye can look at on stories such as who is the journalist? Is there a name, a date on the article? And then again...
Whoa, so I'm sorry. So you're saying it has to come from like a logical sequence? It has to come from print journalism to broadcast in that order? Is that what you're saying?
Not really, but again, it's just research, just small different research that you're able to look at either video or print media and be able to just form an opinion of yourself to decide whether this is the truth or not the truth.
To be frank, I'm an average viewer.
Right.
I have difficulty, to be frank, 100% frank, I have difficulty, kind of
sifting through.
Yeah, and what's real, what's not.
Right.
I'll tell you an example. I recently, actually saw this online, Pointer Institute. Al Tompkin, which is a broadcasting instructor, very famous. He wrote a book called Aim for the Heart. So he was doing one of his lectures. I was watching it, and he gives a story that Fox News did as an example.
Right.
And he said, let me see, the story was something like the Department of Agriculture is now using manned airplanes to spy on a rancher's land, right? And Fox News, did it.
Right.
Months later, they did the correction because apparently they're legally,
obligated,
required. And then they said, this is a correction. The Department of Agriculture is not using manned airplanes to spy on the farmers.
Right.
It's using unmanned drones. But it's like, what?
It is. It's hard.
It's like, what are you talking about? Like, what
right, absolutely.
And then you have to, then he goes on to explain the purpose of that report, which was to obviously get people up in arms. Oh my God, the government is spying on you.
Right. Right.
It's very, I don't know if it's dangerous, but it's certainly...
It's complicated.
It has the potential to be
dangerous. It's confusing.
Right.
However, right now, there's just so much content and so many different channels to gain access to that content, and it really is up to the viewer to be, up to the viewer or the reader to be responsible in forming their opinion from what they're reading.
I don't think you can put the responsibility solely on the consumer.
Not solely. Not solely.
Okay, but I think is on the hands of the corporations because, for obvious reasons, all the profits that we're talking about multi-million dollars. Sometimes they hit the billions, like all the talent that they have, all the executives, all the strategy. This is 100% their purposely seeking to create that intention.
Right. You know, but again, at that point, you know, since we're really not operating that way, you know, at some point we do have to be responsible in researching, you know, and everything that we do to gain more knowledge. We have to research that subject. And common sense will tell you that it's not a true or accurate story in some cases, in lots of cases.
Right.
You know, but again, it is the responsibility. And that's how the media is starting to push it more. And I've seen that online to where they're saying, hey, well, it is your responsibility basically to find out the facts.
Oh, that's convenient.
You know, yeah, you know, it really
how do I
is.
do that? You know,
yeah, but how, you know, as far as like, even for yourself, you know, when you're reading stories or different news each day, I mean, do you find yourself going to multiple outlets, maybe, you know, just reading the story just to see if maybe things add up together, or?
Look, I watch Fox News, and I'm going to be honest. I can only do it for so long.
Right.
Because the more you're attuned to the way you feel, and just do that next time you watch Fox. And this is not, I'm not putting Fox News down.
Right.
I think it has a lot of value. It really does. But if you really focus on how you feel, watch Fox News for about 15 minutes, and you're going to see that it changes your energy. It gives you, it makes you more, I want to say, aggressive. And that's just my perspective. That's how it makes me feel.
Okay.
Because I think that most of the shows are somewhat of a call to action.
Right.
It's a call to action. You know, this is happening, and then the tonality. You know, the liberals. You know, they start doing the whole tonality, and it works. It works. It's well. These guys are
right.
They're no dummies. They're super intelligent. You know, they have super strategic plans. You know, this is a multi-million-dollar operation. Rupert Murdoch is a super intelligent person.
Absolutely.
Dedicated, hardworking. These guys are not playing around.
Right.
You know, and then I will watch some MSNBC. You know, it doesn't give me that same physiological reaction. But after a while, you know, I can also see the bias. Right. And the reason is because those two channels, by and large, are not news. You're watching commentary. You know, you watch
CNN as well, though. I'm going to throw CNN under the bus in there as well. You know, they're all playing the same game. So again, you know, whether you're watching CNN, you know, the way, again, I've been consuming, you know, my news is I go through, you know, the three networks, usually like Fox, CNN, MSNBC, but I'm just picking a story here, and I see a few others that just don't make sense to me. You know, CNN, same thing. It's just a pick and choose of different, and I see all of the networks doing the same opinionated commentary, you know, on all ends. And again, it's more tied to politics in this day and age. Right. You know, our media wasn't so centralized around politics at one point in time to where now, you know, media and politics go hand in hand. You know, it's not just the facts. Sometimes it is the facts, but there's a twist, you know, to those facts. You know, just to make viewers.
And that's a great point about the ethics that you bring up. And I'll tell you this. I also watch local news. Right. I watch Channel 6, and it's very neutral.
NBC is a very neutral station. That's you say MSNBC, Channel 6, NBC.
It is.
That's the more neutral of.
It's just informative. This is what happened today. They just break it down.
Absolutely. Do you feel though sometimes when you're watching a situation like that, and you know that they left maybe an important question out, you know, and
yes.
And you know that question and that information really held a lot of weight to that story.
Yes.
And you know that they left that out just to make the piece look, you know, less informative or one-sided.
I felt that way. But I also, just by doing, you know, MDC-TV. Right. I recognize the challenging nature of hosting a show.
Yeah, it's very challenging.
So I can't watch it on my couch and judge. Oh, you should have asked him this. That's Monday morning quarterbacking. Right. You know, and it may not even be intentional. Right. Maybe they didn't pick up on that you know, question or that opportunity that you're watching it from home. Oh, she especially in political stuff. Oh, she should have asked him why he passed this law. You that have many years of experience in the media, what do you feel that new students coming into this field, that are students at Miami-Dade College that want to study, you know, broadcasting or TV production, what do they have in the future for them? What can they expect?
First, lots of opportunities. There's definitely, again, like we were discussing, in today's digital age, it's not normal broadcasting anymore. So there's definitely lots of opportunities, lots of different avenues to take when it comes to production, broadcasting. So again, it's definitely going to be a very fulfilled and fruitful industry. It is, and it's just becoming more, and it's actually becoming more easily to obtain the knowledge within media production than it was before. So definitely great opportunities, lots of advancements. But again, just keep it real.
Yeah, exactly.
There are, just as with any industry,
right.
You have rules that, you have to play the game by.
Right.
So it is definitely important to stick to those morals, ethics, values, because it is your at the end of the day, it is your responsibility to, deliver a truthful story, for people out there.
In a very exciting field as well, right?
Very exciting, yes, absolutely.
Joy, thank you so much for coming.
Sure, thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. Friends, thank you for watching MDC-TV. Till next time, I'll see you then.